What is going on, everybody? I am back. We're here to talk some Seahawks free agency. They have made a lot of moves since my last video. So we're going to get into it, dive into it, and discuss some of these free agent signings that Seattle has made, break them down a little bit, and get into it as my pad is going crazy here with updates. If you watch my March Madness bracket video, thank you. My bracket is absolutely toast. I had Purdue winning the whole thing, and they lose to Fairleigh Dickinson. Texas A&M was my sleeper. They're out. Arizona's out. What a mess. So for anybody, I guess that's why I probably need to watch more college basketball than I do if I'm going to do brackets. But my bracket is done. Let's talk Seahawks free agency. If you haven't watched my previous video, I talked about the Draymond Jones free agent signing. Love the move. I think one of the real sleeper, underrated free agents that was out there. I think that is a tremendous pickup for the Seahawks. But they have been very busy. They've added Jaron Reed. They added Julian Love today. They have re-signed Drew Lock. Who else am I missing? Evan Brown, the guard center from the Lions, they signed. And then they also signed Devin Bush from the Pittsburgh Steelers as well to a one-year deal. Let me just pull up something real quick here, and we will get into it. We'll go in order. We'll start with Jaron Reed. That was the one that broke after the Draymond Jones signing. I don't love Jaron Reed, to be perfectly honest, overall. I think he's okay at rushing the passer. He's okay as a run stuffer. He's a very streaky player. He was a really good run stuffer in Seattle, and even had a couple years where he broke out and had some really good pass rush years as well. So he is capable. And like I said, there's plays, if you go and watch some of his tape, where he gets beat up pretty good, but he does also show some flashes. So, I mean, in general, like I said, it's a very kind of a streaky player. Now, he's had success in Seattle's system. I know he's been a favorite of Clint Hurt. He's coming back for Pete Carroll, so maybe, a little extra motivation there coming back, and he does play a little bit better. I am fine with Jaron Reed as a depth piece. You have to fill out the defensive line. No position rotates more in football than your defensive line. So somebody's got to get snaps. Now, my issue with the Seahawks defensive line last year, I didn't think anybody they had was necessarily bad. It was just it's all rotational players. Everybody on that D-line is a rotational guy. Jaron Reed fits in that mold. He's totally fine. If Jaron Reed's getting 15 to 20 snaps a game, there's no problem with that. He'll give you 4 or 5 sacks and be decent against the run. He can kind of play end-to-end nose in this Seattle scheme as well, so he does have some versatility there. But when you run into troubles when guys like Jaron Reed are playing 50, 60 snaps a game, that's when you run into issues. They're just not guys anymore that can be out there that much and can contribute that much. I'll be perfectly honest, I'd probably rather have Shelby Harris than Jaron Reed if that's what it came down to. Now, maybe it didn't, even though we know the salary ramifications, we know Shelby Harris. And I'll be honest, have they actually released Shelby Harris yet? They were talking about maybe some restructure, so I'm actually not positive if they've even released Shelby Harris yet. But let's assume, for the sake of this video, that they do. I would probably rather have Shelby Harris, but like I said, we don't know all the nitty-gritty. Maybe by releasing Harris is what freed up the money for Draymond Jones or Julian Love. So it's hard to say, and they just kind of looked at it like, okay, yeah, maybe Jaron Reed's a step back, but he's still decent. And again, remember the contract, it looks like it's $10.8 million max. So that's Jaron Reed hitting all his incentives, and if he does that, he's probably had a good year. Yeah, I mean, in general, like I said, I don't love Jaron Reed. I think he's pretty meh overall. But like I said, you've got to have guys in that rotation on the D-line. Jaron Reed does not prevent them from grabbing an elite talent in the draft on the D-line. He's not going to take snaps from anybody that is needing more snaps. Like if Seattle does get fortunate enough to get like a Will Anderson, Jaron Reed is not going to be taking those snaps away from someone like that. So in general, I'm fine with it. It's a depth signing. And with some good players around him, Jaron Reed can contribute. The next signing the Seahawks made was one I really liked. They signed Evan Brown from the Detroit Lions, a guard center. John Schneider did say he fits more as a center, and that would match kind of the little bit I've watched on him. Does seem to be more natural at the center position, and I feel like I've got to sneeze, so if I do, I apologize here. It's like sitting right there. I hate those. Played a lot of guard, more so last year. Started 12 games at right guard. Was decent, not bad. I mean, good pass protection guy. And it's nice that he has that versatility. So if they do draft a center, he could slide over. Maybe if Phil Haynes struggles or they think he's better than Phil Haynes, he can play there. But in the meantime, they have a needed center, and he is an improvement over Austin Blythe, at least from what I've seen. So in the meantime, as the roster is constructed right now, you have an upgraded center. One thing the Seahawks do, and I do like that they do this, they try to go into the draft without needing a position, without having a position where they have to draft this 100%. Now, there are positions they're going to have to draft, but they don't want to pigeonhole themselves into absolutely having to draft this. I'm sure they'd like some of the centers out there, but if they can't get them, they know they've got Evan Brown that can slide in there and do the job for him. Like I said, he was better at center when he filled in for Frank Ragnow. Obviously, Ragnow's one of the best in the business, so he's not going to be the every down center in Detroit. I think he can slide in and be the center from day one for Seattle. Really like the signing. Really like Evan Brown. I think that's whereas Jaron Reed's more of a depth filling, just in my opinion, move. Evan Brown is someone that can move the needle a little bit. This is an upgrade for the Seattle Seahawks at the center position. And an O-line that actually, all in all, I like Seattle's O-line. And yeah, they could, I wouldn't be against them drafting a center or a guard, but Charles Cross, Damian Lewis, Evan Brown, Phil Haynes right now, and Haynes didn't have his best year last year, so his job is not guaranteed. And Abe Lucas, I like that offensive line. It's really young, too, as well. And that's the other thing about Evan Brown. I think he's 20, see if I can pull this up here. He's 26. So this isn't someone that's 33, 34 in the tail end of their career. You're getting a young guy that's essentially in his prime. So I like that move a lot for Seattle. They've also re-signed Drew Lock to a one-year deal, which I think can get up to $7 million. I think it's a $4 million base contract. Again, I'm not going to go into a huge ramble about Lock. I probably will now. I say that and I'll go into a huge ramble. I don't like Drew Lock. I'll be honest. I don't think he's very good. I shouldn't say I don't like him. Let me rephrase that. I don't think Drew Lock is very good. I know some Seahawks fans kind of hold on to this hope that, Drew Lock can become something. He's still young. And that's possible. There's talent there. All these guys, they're NFL players. They have talent. Maybe Drew Lock does have something in there that can be unlocked, no pun intended. But everything I've seen, Drew Lock just seems bleh. Now, I'm fine with bringing him back. He's been in the system. He's got familiarity there. That's always nice with a backup quarterback that can come in there and knows the system well. Like I said, he is young. He's not some 17-year, 10-year veteran that's been sitting on the bench. I guess that would kind of be Geno Smith in a way. So like I said, and I'm not against bringing in talent at any position. If Seattle loves a quarterback, this is not going to prevent them from drafting a quarterback. If C.J. Stroud is somehow sitting there at 5, and the Seattle Seahawks think C.J. Stroud is the next Patrick Mahomes, they will still make that pick. I would still like Seattle to draft a quarterback, not necessarily at 5 or 20, but in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, I still would like them to bring in some rookie competition. I don't think Drew Lock should just be handed the backup role. I think there should be some competition for that. Like I said, I don't really like Drew Lock that much, but again, it's a backup quarterback position. Again, it prevents them from pigeonholing themselves and having to take one. If there's one there that they like, they will, and maybe Drew Lock doesn't make the team. But if there's not, they've got someone that's been in Shane Waldron's system now for a year, has been in this organization for a year, and if push comes to shove, he has to come in for a game, you might be okay. If Drew Lock has to start a bunch of games, I think Seattle is not in a good position, which is, again, why I would draft a quarterback. And I actually think they will. I don't think Drew Lock is, and again, no pun intended, a lock to make this roster at all. I still wouldn't be shocked at all if they draft a quarterback. Not necessarily maybe in the first round. Again, unless someone is there at 5 that they love. But definitely later in the rounds, it's a possibility. Seattle then signed former Steelers linebacker Devin Bush to a one-year deal. Seattle has no linebackers on the roster. I mean, Muse, they didn't give him a contract as a restricted free agent or didn't tender him a contract. Cody Barton signs with Washington. Jordan Brooks is coming off the ACL injury. So who knows when he's going to be ready. So I'm not going to criticize any signing of linebackers. A body is better than nobody. Devin Bush has not played well in the last years. He looked really good his rookie year in 2019, I thought. And Pittsburgh traded up to get him. So, there was definitely a want and need for his talent. He looked good his rookie year. Injuries have hurt him. And just, he has not played very well the last couple seasons. So not surprised that Pittsburgh's not bringing him back. Seattle has a history with these guys. They like to take, Mike Williams, Pete Carroll's first year, Deion Jordan, who else am I missing? Guys that they've taken flyers on that were former top picks that didn't pan out. Robert Kindiche last season. And I know there's others that I'm missing. There's a few others in there as well. But Seattle likes to, especially on defense, take these guys that were high draft picks that didn't pan out. And it's a good move because, listen, we can criticize that there are 6th-round picks that have Hall of Fame careers, and there are top 5 picks that bust out. It happens. But there is a reason these guys went early in the draft. Devin Bush is not an untalented player. There's a reason he went that early. He's had some injuries. More than likely, is Devin Bush going to be that good? Probably not. But if they can untap something, again, still young enough that he could be an impact player for Seattle. There's also a chance Devin Bush doesn't make this roster. Let's see what they do. I'm not as gung-ho about them bringing back Bobby Wagner as some fans have been. But at this point, with what they lack at linebacker, I think I'd be all for it. They need somebody in there. And Bobby Wagner is still a decent player. So at this point, I'm all for bringing Bobby Wagner back. I was hoping maybe they'd get in like Levante David or, a couple other guys that are out there. They didn't do that, so I'd be fine with Bobby Wagner. And then you can get Jordan Brooks back. Brooks, Wagner, Bush. And again, Seattle likes to go 2 linebackers more. The 3-4, the outside backers are, more defensive ends and what Seattle's doing. It's not really a 3-4. I think Seattle's more of a 3-3-5 than they are a 3-4, but just with the basic principle of what it is. So, again, like Devin Bush, the tape doesn't look great the last couple of years, but it's a flyer on a guy that does have, I hate using the word upside because it's so cliche, but, a former top pick. Again, it's a 1-year deal. There's a chance he doesn't make the roster. It is entirely possible. They're going to draft a linebacker at some point. They could bring in Bobby Wagner. Jordan Brooks could be back. John Radigan's a guy that's still in the roster. Maybe he steps up in training camp and preseason. So I'm not even sure, again, like Drew Lock, that Devin Bush is even a rock. I'm saying lock and I'm getting mixed up here. Is that Devin Bush is even a lock to make this team. But, I'm fine with the signing. Again, do I love Devin Bush? Not really. I would expect he just isn't that great. But I'm fine with it in terms of 1-year deal. The move I really love and my favorite signing the Seahawks have made, well, I'd say Draymond Jones is my favorite, but Julian Love, safety from the New York Giants, the Seahawks signed him to a 2-year deal. Again, boy, a lot of puns going on with these names, but I love Julian Love. I think this is a fantastic move. What I love about Love, and I'm going to try to say another word other than love here, is his versatility. He's played free safety in the Giants defense. He can kind of play in the box a little bit. He can be nickel. Now, he's more of a zone coverage nickel corner than he is a man-to-man nickel corner, which is fine there for what Seattle wants to do. He can kind of be that hybrid third safety for them that they like to do a lot. They did it with Bradley McDougald when he still had Cam Chancellor here. They did it a little bit with Ryan Neal. They did it last year with Jonathan Abram a little bit. And Julian Love can fill that role perfectly. Now, you might be saying, like, Jay, they're not going to give a guy a 2-year, $12 million deal here to just be, a third safety. And I'm not. I don't think necessarily it's going to be the case. I'll get into the Jamal Adams stuff here. But Seattle plays a lot of 3 safeties. He can also slide down and play nickel. If he's the third safety and playing nickel, he's going to play a ton of snaps. He's going to play 75 to 85% of the snaps just with those 2 positions alone. So that is something that is valuable and Seattle uses a lot. In terms of the nickel corner, he could be straight just a nickel. Listen, I like Kobe Bryant. He showed some flashes last year, and I'm not against him at all. But overall, he was not great. I said in a lot of my post-game videos, I didn't love Kobe Bryant last year. I love it that he's a rookie and that he stepped in and showed some development, like I said. But overall, you can look to upgrade there. There's no guarantee that Kobe Bryant should not just be handled this nickel position next year. He did not, in my opinion, do enough to have that. Now, maybe he steps up and he earns it. That's fine. I'm not against that. Again, I like Kobe Bryant. This isn't you don't come and tell me, oh, Kobe's awesome. I like him. I think he could be a really good player. But I think there was room to improve that nickel position. Now, in terms of Jamal Adams, post June 1st, I talked about it in my kind of Seahawks offseason guys they could cut video. If they cut him after June 1st, they would save $8.5 million for Jamal Adams if they were to cut Jamal Adams. Post June 1st cut, saves $8.5 million. There is a possibility they cut Jamal Adams and Julian Love is your other safety. Now, I don't quite know about that because Love and Adams don't, in my opinion, profile the same, which would make me think that they're going to use both of them. Love is more free safety. You know, he can play the box, but he's more free than he is strong safety. Here's my take on Jamal Adams, and they could release him. They very well could. It could just be a matter of, listen, he hasn't been healthy. I think there's a few things going on here. One, Julian Love is a hedge. Like, Jamal Adams, they can't count on Jamal Adams. He might not be back healthy. He's missed time all 3 seasons. You just can't. So, worst case scenario, I think they look at and they say, Julian Love comes in and plays strong safety. And that's it. And that's how it is. I think best case scenario, and you saw it last year, the Seahawks and the defense, and Pete Carroll, Clint Hurt talked about it. I talked about it in a few videos. I think this team had some big plans for Jamal Adams last year in this defense. And unfortunately, with that injury in week 1, they just never got a chance to utilize it, and it hurt their defense. Now, they're obviously going to have to make some hedges this year because you just can't assume Adams is going to be healthy. I think they're going to give it one more go with Jamal Adams and see what they can get. I think they want to give it one more shot. That they can get a player like Jamal Adams that can blitz, play in the box. I don't think he's as bad in pass coverage as people make him out to be. It's not necessarily his strength, but I don't think he's awful there. There are some rumors too. They could have Love back at safety, and Adams could almost play linebacker in this defense. So that is a possibility too. I think they like the idea of having Julian Love, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs all on the field together. I think that is very tantalizing for them. Bob Condotta mentioned in a tweet that the signing has nothing to do with Jamal Adams. Now, of course, Seattle's not going to come out and say, yeah, we're kind of done with Adams. June 1st, we're cutting his ass. Like, they're not going to say that, obviously. And they could still draft a safety, someone like Branch from Alabama, and put him in there as well and cut Adams and save money. So they could obviously still do that. It wouldn't shock me. But I do think they are intrigued by the idea of having these 3 kind of safeties on the field together. It allows them to move Love back into coverage, and Adams can blitz and do his thing at the line of scrimmage to create some havoc. And as far as the $8.5 million, it's a post-June 1st cut. So unless you're just uptight against signing draft picks, I mean, free agency's, it's not over, but like at this point, Bobby Wagner, maybe that's about it for Seattle in free agency. I don't see where else they're going to necessarily be signing guys. There's always a couple. They could sneak some guys in there. But in general, I think you're pretty much done. There's, outside of maybe, like I said, some special teams depth players to fill out the roster. So, I don't know if you necessarily need it. And that could go hand in hand with why they cut Shelby Harris and Quentin Jefferson. That was another one. I thought they'd do one or the other. I thought for sure Jefferson would be cut, but they also cut Harris. That could be involved in that too a little bit. So we'll see. I'm not going to lie. I love the idea of getting Jamal Adams, Julian Love out there together. I think it could be really dangerous in a good way for this defense with Tariq Woolen and Quandre Diggs. But I don't know necessarily what the internal discussions are. But either way, regardless of what they do, I really, really like the Julian Love signing. I think that is one of my favorite. That and Draymond Jones are 2 of my favorite signings this team has made an offseason in a long, long time. So Seahawks fans should be really excited to have both them on board. I like Evan Brown a lot too. Again, those Love, Brown, and Jones make this team legitimately better. The other ones, to me, Jaron Reed, Devin Bush, and Drew Lock are roster filler guys. Reed a little bit more prominent because he will play. Bush, too, if it ends up coming down to that. But to me, that's just more depth signings. The other 2 are possibly very impact players for Seattle. So, really like the signings. I like what Seattle's done this offseason. I think they've had a good free agency. And we'll see if there's anything left. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hit the sub button, hit the like button, turn on the notifications for more Seahawks news. Do not turn on the notifications for my brackets because those are terrible. And you do not want to follow my advice on the NCAA tournament bracket. But I will see you guys next time for more football breakdowns. Peace.